And hello again. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Steve Lacy.
There you go. You got the cue that time, Steve. Good job.
All right, good deal.
So this is
I
the
can
Church
be
Solution.
trained.
You can be trained. You are trainable.
Yeah.
This is the Church Solutions podcast, and this is episode number 202. I think it really is 202. I know a lot of you listen to podcasts, right? And they always tell you what the episodes are.
Yes, they do.
I never do. We never do. And so we
Never
usually
listen to
just
podcasts.
I listen to
Ne-
some podcasts,
Oh,
but
okay.
it has to do with other things. But I think we usually just make up a number. But this is
Oh,
actually
sure.
I think it's 202. I think it's episode 202.
Dude, we missed the celebration for 200. So,
Sorry,
oh well, now we get to
250.
look forward to 250 or 300, huh?
Yeah, we could do that.
All
So
right.
yeah. All right. So we're a tech company. As if you listen to us, we do streaming video, mobile apps, and content management, church management stuff, and we do a lot of tech stuff. But as we always say, we are very much involved in church work, and we love churches. We love ministry. We are all involved in our churches, and so we have a heart to help churches. And we talk about tech things, and sometimes we talk about other subjects that are kind of related that should help you as a volunteer or a pastor or senior pastor. And what are we talking about today, Steve?
So today we're talking about how culture is moving forward and we don't want to leave the church behind. I mean,
Yeah.
culture is very different than it was even just a few years ago. So we're
Yeah.
going to highlight, is there 10?
Yeah, I think there is 10, unless I
There's
changed it.
10 points on how the culture has changed. And I'm pretty excited about these. You sent me the notes prior and I thought,
Yeah.
these are really good.
I think I
So
edited the notes again, but I think the original we were talking about calling it something like cultural trends that leaders must not ignore,
yeah,
and I think that's true. And then I also this has a lot to do with strategy, your strategy versus your mission. And so I just want to make this clear, at least from my perspective, is the truth that your mission, obviously, it's sacred. It's something you feel like you're supposed to do. You feel like you've got a calling from God to do your mission. It's a sacred, set apart thing. But here's what we're really going to talk about today. And maybe you won't agree with this, or maybe you will. But your method, how you accomplish your mission, your method, your strategy, your approach, your plan. Uh, that's not necessarily sacred, in my opinion. That can be, you can modify that and change that,
all
and
right.
I think you should if you've been doing ministry over the years for a long
Well,
time.
yeah, if you don't and the culture has changed and you're,
Right.
you know, flipping transparency, I don't, whatever old thing that
Overhead
my
projectors.
my church used to do.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I did it
that
too.
yeah, then you're not gonna, you're not gonna reach
Yeah,
the culture. Culture has different expectations now, and having four boys that are all in that millennial age. Oldest is 29, youngest 22. So I get exposed to it a lot with their
yeah, you do.
girlfriends and wives, and so I
Yeah,
kind of, plus I don't know, I get out a little bit and I
you do get out.
listen to read a lot of books and listen to a
Yeah.
lot of
I,
podcasts.
I don't know if you get out a
So
lot, but you do listen to a lot of podcasts.
I,
You don't like to get out much, but your
yeah,
wife has to
that's
drag you
that's true. But
places.
I do
But
read a
yeah,
lot of books and I do listen to a lot of podcasts. So
yes, you do. Very
I
good.
kind of keeping up with the culture.
Yeah, as opposed to me, who I get out a lot, but I just waste my time. But anyhow, all right. So let's jump into this, and I'd love to hear some feedback from people about this because some of this might be a no-brainer, and some of it might be a little bit. I don't know if that's true. So let's talk about what we think is the obvious. So the first point, and that would be
Online is here to stay.
online is here to stay. Now, I think that's a no-brainer. But the bottom line is this: you would go to church, you'd hear a message, you'd hear the music, and then you would get a cassette maybe if you really liked it, or maybe a CD if the church was really advanced.
Yeah, I was asking yeah, there were, yeah, just quick side note. I was asking my wife, I said, that car we had that we got married in, that we bought when we first got married, did it have a cassette player or did it have a CD player? So anyway, yes. So, and now everything, I mean, we call this the online, but it's basically everything's on your phone.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, it's in the
so,
cloud usually. It's online.
so,
It's the
yeah,
phone. Yeah,
and people that,
yeah,
they just they're doing all this stuff, getting exposed to media, getting influence, and I'm one of them too. You just need a phone. All you need is a phone. You go to the concert, you do it on your phone. You know, communicate with people, it's all on your phone.
That's true. Absolutely. And so that is here to stay, folks. And so the question is, what are you as a key volunteer, a tech person, or just somebody listening to this podcast that's involved in your church, either as a leader or a pastor, what are you doing to continue to embrace the online world just beyond this, website? Okay, we have a website. We did a website. Okay, good. But, just beyond that, or even beyond a podcast, maybe you're advanced and you're doing a podcast, or maybe you're really doing some stuff like Facebook. What else can you do? And that's a question you're going to have to answer.
Right.
But there's lots of things out there.
And you need to support where the culture's at today. Yep. And I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can make my predictions here. It was first, the web with the internet. And then it was the phone with the internet and computer on your phone. Mm-hmm. And I think the next wave is going to be smart speakers. So, and where you're talking to things. So the interface where you were typing in URLs or putting, at Joey, Smith's deal, you're going to be talking to stuff and it's going to be talking back to you. Yep. So I think that's where things are going. So anyway, you got to at least catch up with, having a website, you're there, getting your site and everything mobile friendly, and doing more mobile friendly stuff is good as well. But, I guess the leading edge guys are then starting to look at, and we can help you with that too.
We certainly can. Yeah, that's part of what we want. We can
develop apps for our friend, Echo. She's sitting right next to me, so I can't say her name.
Amazon. Alexa, right?
Yes, she would start talking to me if I mentioned that name.
And by the way, you can hear the Church Solutions podcast. I have Alexa and I have Google. I guess it's Google Home, which is kind of the answer to Alexa. And I can say, again, I don't want to say it here because it's right by my microphone here, but like Alexa's somewhere else. So I can say, Alexa, play the Church Solutions podcast, and it will play it. And it will also play my own church's podcast. And Google will do the same thing, if I do, hey, Google. But anyhow, so
anyway, where the culture's changing, and that's kind of where the culture's at. I think they're transitioning towards the phone. Towards the, I guess call them smart speakers. And everybody's coming out. Apple has one now, and actually there's a ton of different ones, and they're affordable. And I don't know, you get people just love them. Non-techie people just love them.
Yeah. And we won't get into the question of are they listening to you, because we won't get into that. But I'm sure there's some people that might say that. In fact, you and I had a little discussion a couple of weeks ago about a news thing I read. But anyhow, let's not get on that horse.
The camera's on my phone or my computer monitoring me now. Anyway, let's move on. Number two.
Number two.
And I guess I spoiled this one a little bit, huh?
You did, but it's okay. Wi-Fi, and as you said, smartphones, they are here to stay. And so, and I bring this point up because a lot of times in church, there's this, there's a freak out. I've seen some pastors freak out about don't bring your phones in here, or don't put your phones out during my message. And I understand the feeling of, hey, we want people focused. We don't want phones going off. We don't want people watching video during a service, of something else, especially. But the bottom line is, people can use their phones and actually add value to your messages.
They're going to do it anyway. There's, as you're speaking and getting your message, they're going, was Abraham, how old was he? I always wondered, and they get their phone out and start looking stuff up. Well, we do it all the time. We do it with our smart speaker now. Tina and I will be watching TV and something will come on and she'll go, she's more interested in, is he still married to such and such, or how old are they? Or, so she's asking our smart speaker all these things while the thing's going on. And so people in your congregation, they're probably, they're seeing that already. So the culture is already wanting to, have internet access and a way to get at it to, I don't know, supplement what they're hearing or double check you, make sure that you're telling the truth.
Yeah. And we've talked about this for years now, but that is, you can actually embrace this in your messages. I mean, you could have surveys that people could answer in real time while you're talking. You could do polls. You could do different things while you're speaking. If you really want to step out there and embrace it, there's some things that you could do and people could actually interact with you during your message.
Right.
If you get creative.
We actually created an app that was 5 or 6 years before its time, because it was all geared for doing this interactive service with the congregation participating with the speaker. But so,
and I understand the pastor's concern, like I don't want people distracted and all that, but again, there's a discreet way to do it, and you don't have to blast the volume. And I think as you were saying, look, it's here to stay. So
they're going to do it.
Sit.
The culture's doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're going and they're getting their phone out and they're sharing. To go to a concert, they've got the phone up. Going, I'm at this and that concert. This is so cool. You want them raising their phone. I'm listening to this guy. He's got the best points I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So,
if you can't beat them, join them. And I really think you can embrace it, and it can be a positive thing. All right, so let's move on here, because I know you have to go eat lunch or something.
So interaction is a must.
Again, kind of what we were just talking about. Interaction. People really want to interact. I think the days of sit there like a good boy or girl and just listen to the person lecture, that's still there. It's still part of the culture, but the new culture is moving in more, and they want to be interactive. They want to be, I have a small church I work with, about 100 people, and they love it when we change the seating and we have these little tables. They're just little tables, and you can put 4 or 5 chairs around a little table, and they just love it. And it gives them a feeling of, I don't know what it gives. It's just a more of a homey effect or something, and they can interact more. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just, in our notes, we have a very tweetable phrase here, so I wanted to throw that out.
Yeah.
A church without conversation is a church without converts.
I think that's good. Who said that?
Anyhow, I don't know. Did you make that up?
I think
I did. Phil?
I think I did.
You're the man, huh?
Well, every once in a while, a blind squirrel, gets an acorn. But I think interaction more than ever is necessary, which is one of the reasons with our streaming video with streamingchurch.tv. You were ahead. Well, you were even ahead of the thing before we did video with myflock.com. You made it very interactive and very social related before Facebook, before these other guys came out.
Put us in a big shadow.
Too bad you're not a billionaire like those guys are. But even with our streaming video, you can be very interactive on the platform, have video, and also have interactivity. So it's something that I think people crave it. I think the culture is moving that way more and more, and I think it gives people an opportunity. And some churches you can't put a table around because you don't have the room or whatever. My church, you can do that, but there's still some opportunities. You can create opportunities for interaction. If not during the main service, which I understand is hard, but before or after. Yeah. And
if you have our app, they can definitely interact during the service.
There you go.
All right. We're probably going to need to pick the pace up, huh? Because we're only into number 3 here.
Yeah, we got to move here. So,
all right,
this is an easy one. Go ahead.
Number 4, guilt needs to go.
Guilt needs to go. And I know churches still use this, but it really grieves me. If I can be kind of religious here, it grieves my heart. I just think guilt, I've always said this, but guilt used to motivate people to change is ridiculous. And, if you guilt people to come to God, you got to keep guilting them to stay with God. And so more than ever now, this culture, more than ever, is rejecting any kind of guilt. I had a pastor tell me the other day, this was a few years ago, he was pastoring a church in Minnesota. And one of the families invited him over, and the lady said to him, she goes, I don't really like the way you speak. And he goes, oh, okay, tell me more. And she goes, you just don't make me feel bad. And her background was, if you weren't getting beat up, if her background was if you weren't using the Bible to make me feel guilty and make me, motivate me to change by feeling miserable, then you weren't a good speaker. And she was from a little bit of an older generation.
Yeah, she's not part of this current generation.
No,
So,
not at all. And the culture, guilt is, I think guilt in any venue, I think guilt is not good. I think it's wrong,
right.
especially in church stuff. So
So
anyhow,
these are, yeah. So we're just kind of highlighting where the culture is at today.
right,
Some 10 aspects of the culture.
right.
So, you know, they're
Yeah, I got a
online, they have smartphones, they're interacting, they don't, you know,
Yeah.
guilt is not a motivator.
Right.
So, and number 5, I think is very true as well, is they don't trust you.
They don't
So,
trust you.
yeah.
And look, don't take it personally, but people will trust authority, but authority has to be earned, right? I mean, and I think years ago, people kind of gave authority the benefit of the doubt, maybe, as some people did anyhow, but that's going away. And, because of screwball things that people have done and bad decisions that pastors and people in authority have made, that's kind of done that. So,
And this is, I mean, it's not necessarily an unhealthy thing. It's just the way it is, right? I mean, I can see myself in these positions as well. Just given the current culture and what's going on, it's probably, people, you don't want to trust people that you don't know, that you've just been exposed to. You got to give them some time to establish trust. It was,
yeah, especially in a faith environment.
yeah.
Go ahead. Did I cut you off? Go ahead.
No. I mean, we were listening to a recent sales pitch from somebody else, and they were down to the point where get your credit card out, and I'm like, dude, it's going to take you more than the 20-minute talk we just had for me to trust and, give my money to you. It's
Right.
I got to do some due diligence. I've got to, seek some wise counsel, and it's just kind of the way it is. Whereas, I don't know, maybe years ago, maybe I'm missing out, but years ago, maybe people would say, wow, this guy's legit. He's in a position of authority, and he's telling me like it is. And, if I don't pull out my credit card right now and trust this guy, I may miss a great opportunity. So anyway, so I think the culture doesn't, out of the box for an initial meeting or initial exposure, they don't trust.
Right.
So,
and it could take months of people attending your church before they really begin to feel comfortable and trusting. So I guess my question to you as a leader, I'm talking to our podcast audience here, how is the way you exercise authority worthy of people's confidence? And so you really want to take it slow, and you want to demonstrate, give people, an opportunities to see who you are as a person.
Or just recognize the fact that you've got to earn some trust. I mean, as you speak, and you've got to,
sure,
just recognize where people are at. So it's where the culture's at.
It's moving that
Guys
way.
walk in their doors for the first time. They don't know you. You don't know them. They're,
Right.
Their default position. I mean, and this is just the cultural average. There's definitely going to be people that are more trusting than others. So, but we're just kind of pointing at what's the culture today. So,
Right.
Number 6 goes right with this, right? So the fact that they don't trust you ties into the fact that they don't trust organizations and they don't trust churches. So, because churches are an organization.
Yeah, more than ever. And, the numbers, Gallup poll is, it's declining. People going to church has declined steadily. So the answer to this is just simply this. You got to show people how your church, how your organization, how your ministry can help them and help others. And because by default, again, they're not going to trust you just because you're there, So how is your church demonstrating this? How do they demonstrate trustworthiness? And I think a lot of this has to do with, what are you doing to help your community? How are you helping people that need help and in the area? And do your people see that? And can they get on board with that? So they don't trust churches. That's a given because of the things we've seen, especially. So yeah. So all right. Should we move on?
So number 7 on our list, highlighted as they want to know your vision.
Yeah, they really do.
And,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of what this boils down to is the millennials are very cause-based. So you look at employers and who they're who they're willing to be employed by, and that sort of thing. A primary concern is if there's a cause that they buy into, then they're going to be all in. So, your vision is basically, what's your cause, where are you, where are you going, and they want to have a cause beyond themselves that they can contribute to.
Yeah, absolutely. And millennials are really, many of them are very motivated to jump into things. You know what I mean? And so they want to know your vision. And again, I think you can easily do this almost every message. You can slip it in there in whatever message you're giving or topic you're giving. And not just if you're a pastor, but if you're leading teams, volunteer teams and tech and greeters and ushers, you can always slip your vision in, the vision of the church and the vision of the team in there. And that will really fortify what you're trying to do, which leads to number 8. I'm just going to move on here if that's okay with you. And that is, can you add value to these people that are coming to your church? So again, this next generation, they really do believe they've got some potential to change the world. There's a guy we've had on, you probably ought to have him on again. What was his name, Steve? Zach? Is it Zach? He's here in Tucson, and he's doing a lot of stuff. He's got his own little radio show now on my old station, and he's a very committed Christian, and he's also involved in the city government here in Tucson, or trying to get involved and do things to help the change. He's got a vision to change. So, if he comes to your church, what is it you can add to help him continue to move forward? Is your vision motivating them and adding value to the people that come to your church so that they feel equipped and enabled to not only fulfill maybe the church's vision, but also kind of tag that on to what they're doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's you got to provide, they're buying into the cause, they see your vision and they say, oh, that's a great vision. What you need to do is provide an opportunity for that to gain legs.
Right.
So for, in our example with Zach, he has a vision for transforming our city. And he's, and everybody's like, oh, that's a great vision. And, it's a great cause. We need to transform our city. And then he provides avenues for people to get involved. He says, hey, we're doing a charity run to help this nonprofit out. You can give this thing legs by just, showing up and doing your part, So, and with the church, it's a lot, if you're very mission driven, and if you provide opportunities for local mission opportunities in your own town where they can go and, work in the homeless shelter, or, serve in the bread line,
Habitat for Humanity, those kind of things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So again, it's, Sunday morning is more than just speaking a message, but it's also including these things in what's happening in your church so that it adds value. All right. So then number 9 is people look for reviews. So that's what this culture is moving more towards. Steve, you're probably familiar with this. I mean, there's apps out there.
I'm a major advocate of this. I mean, we were talking about these guys that approached us, was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
A couple weeks ago.
And, my number one thing was I really, my trust was low. So I didn't completely trust what they were saying. I wanted to know what others were saying, those that had no investment in them were saying about them. So I think that's why we have Amazon today, right? If they had not included the ability for customers to review products, that's half their offering there. Besides making it easy to purchase, it's you want to see what other people are saying, and you want that 5-star with a big number with 3,000 people.
Yeah, and I learned something from you with Amazon is you go and you look at the 1-star reviews. So you don't start with the 5 stars. You go to the bottom and look at what the 1 and 2 stars are saying first, right? I've seen you do
when
that.
I'm looking, no,
you're looking for a product.
I don't look for the product. Yes, if I'm looking for a product, I want to have a lot of reviews, and I want to go to the guys that are really ticked off about it, this product that I'm considering, and to see, for me, what it tells me is I'll look at it and go, oh, they're all mad because some lame thing in my opinion, you know. So I go, they gave them a 1 star
Right.
because they're mad about the box came with a bunch of dents in it, you know. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that's not the fault of Amazon or the people that made the part, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. It's getting off track there, but so you can actually have reviews now for your church, right? I mean, I think you can check in and do reviews. You can put I can't, I should have probably looked this up a little more detail, but there's actual, I mean, there's like restaurants have what is you can go on and you can
Yelp. Yelp
Yelp.
is the
You can do a Yelp review for a church.
yes, you can. So
And I know there's some people listening to this podcast or watching this video and they're rolling their eyes about it. But you know what? The
well,
culture is looking that direction.
within Google, most of the churches now are going to have a Google account, you know, with Google as a, you know, because as a business slash organization,
Right.
and people will review there. And one of the things just you got to stay on top of is people are reviewing, you know, what they're saying, and we need to reply to the reviews. So if
Right.
somebody gives you a 1 star, you need to go, hey, we're so sorry that, you know, you had this bad experience. We want to make it better by, you know, XYZ.
Right.
And then that shows that, you know, people look at these
Yeah.
reviews and like, oh, this guy ranted and no one ever said anything. That's
Yeah.
a terrible mark on the
Yeah.
church. That means the church doesn't care,
Right.
and they're either unaware, which is probably what most churches are,
Right.
but they're either unaware or they don't care, and both of those are bad. So anyway,
Yeah. All right.
uh,
Yeah.
reviews
yeah.
are very important.
They really are. All right. So the last but not least, rest in peace. Cash and checks are dead.
Yes.
Cash and
So-
checks are dead. Now, I mean, they're maybe not totally dead, but personally, and again, we're talking the culture here, the millennials and this new culture. Most of the time, they're pulling out a debit card or a credit card. You may be against credit cards, but they're using that, or they're paying for something online using PayPal or something. But I mean, personally, for me,
sending money to their buddies via Venmo.
yeah, there's different apps out there. I can't remember the last time I wrote a check out to my church, and I give to my church. Don't get me wrong. I don't
Yeah.
use checks. I don't give them
Yeah.
cash.
I was in small group last week and we were talking about this, and I go, I don't remember ever writing. It's been so long. I don't think I've ever written a check to the church. It's just all online. So,
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, I do a little part-time gig, and I'm executive pastor for this little 100-member church, and we do get checks. But when we started to use giving online and PayPal, we get a lot more gifts that way than people using checks. And people still do use checks. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, you need to begin to shift more towards making an opportunity for people to
Right.
give
And there's
in a
a-
different way.
a ton of highly reviewed, good mobile app contribution systems out there.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
And
a
of
lot
course,
people-
we have a mobile app, and we have it so you can put a link in for whatever system you use, whatever banking service you
Right.
use. You can put it in there. You can do that on streamingchurch.tv. You have a link, and people can give PayPal or what is it, Tithey or whatever the thing is called. There's different
well,
companies.
there's a bunch of them. There's been a big, just I'll call it resurgence. I'd call it surgence of mobile-based, text-based giving apps that have become really popular.
And the argument, I know some people say, well, don't they take a chunk of money? Well, they take 2 or 3% usually, right? But the convenience, in my opinion, is worth paying 3%. I think it is. And I can testify as the guy who
Yeah.
handles the budget. When people give online,
it's-
there's more resources coming in.
Right. I mean, there's a long-standing data on, it applies to businesses, and probably there's the same data for churches. So if you provide the opportunity to pay with a credit card, they're going to spend 18% more. So if you're, and that's Dave Ramsey piece there, where
There you go.
if you're using a credit card, you're going to spend 18% more than you probably should have.
Yeah.
So,
And if you're against that, if you're a pastor listening, I don't want my people giving with their credit cards. Okay, well, here's the deal. You can also teach them financial classes, encouraging them to pay off their credit cards all the time, so they
you
don't
can give
keep
online with a
balance.
debit card too.
Do that too. You can do that too. So anyhow, there's pros and cons, but the bottom line is, again, as we talk about this podcast, we're talking about cultural trends. And if you
Right.
ignore these trends, you're going to fall behind, and you're going to see people go to other places that are embracing them.
Right.
That makes sense. Anyhow, we're out of time.
Yep. All righty.
Imagine that. So, all right. So he's Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. Would love to get your feedback on this, folks. Support@streamingchurch.tv. That's one of our domains. You can send us an email. Love to get your pros and cons on this thing. Give it to us, good or bad. We would love to hear from you. And subscribe to our podcast. It's called the Church Solutions Podcast. So I'm going to get out of here so we can let Steve go have all his kids. And meanwhile, I'll stay here and suffer. So just kidding. Hey, folks, thank you for your time today. We appreciate that. We'll catch you next time on another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Take care.